Hello, welcome, and sorry. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to another Maple Bitcoin live stream. I'm Jorlis, my good buddy Forrest, and we are without our other good buddy Rajat today. And so, as we get a few people in here, I want to do something a little bit fun to start the show today. So, for anybody in the chat, I see some people pulling in here for the day. Anybody in the chat who can guess where Rajat is today? He's on a bit of a holiday, you might say. So if anybody can guess where Rajat has traveled to, we're going to send you 1,000 sats from the Maple Bitcoin Reserve. So put it in the chat. We'll give you about 30 seconds, maybe, to guess.
And I'll give you a hint as well. It's not a tropical island with palm trees.
I was thinking most people would say like Cancun or Jamaica.
We got one of those in the chat already. Cancun.
So yes, if you can guess where Rajat is right now,
Davos.
I think he's still there, right?
He's in Davos for sure.
Davos. That might get 1,000 sats just for a laugh. But we'll bring up a picture of Rajat in just a second here. But today's show is titled "Building a Rock Solid Foundation for Your Bitcoin," and this is something that Forrest and I take pretty seriously. It's what we do for the majority of our days, thinking about Bitcoin security, thinking about making our setup a little bit better, and helping others do it too. So we figured it'd be a good opportunity today to cover a couple things we think are very important for people to wrap their head around Bitcoin security, and talk it out for a while, and then we'll get into some other stuff. Maybe even some Davos. Check on Rajat in Davos. So we got what do we got here, Forrest?
Oh, we got great comments.
We got Montreal, Cancun, India. Actually, he was just in India when?
Last year.
Last year, yeah. Davos, there it is. Big turkey vulture. Thailand, ooh. England, Toronto, El Salvador. Oh my gosh, Nav, come on. And we got Ontario. That's the winner. I think that's a winner, right, Forrest?
No, he's in Quebec.
Oh yeah, right. Was there? Oh, there was Montreal in there.
Yeah, I think that's the winner there.
I thought that he was. So Montreal's the winner. Close enough. We'll call it close enough. So Fadima, if you got a Lightning address, looks like she's at work today. If you got a Lightning address, we will send you 1,000 satoshis for your guest there. She might know Rajat though too. She might have an inside source here, but we have no way to verify that. So we will give the sats to Fadima today. I hope I'm saying that name right. But yes, I'll show you a picture of where he is. He's not in a church or a bar in Montreal. He's in the wilderness. Oh my God, Rajat. He said it was -40 when he was outside ice fishing.
What is that, a perch that he got? Can't really tell.
Yeah, it looks kind of small, maybe. But yeah. Perch are usually pretty small. Let's get a better look at this.
It's a big perch, or it's something else.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be. It is definitely too big for a perch.
Yeah, too big. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we don't know what kind of fish that is, but you can see how cold he is there. -40, he said it felt like, and that's pretty chilly.
Yeah.
Even for the Canadian boys here. When was the last time you were in -40 weather, Forrest?
2023, when I lived in Northern Ontario. It hit -40 once. That's when our pipes burst. Oh. That's when we decided to start planning our escape back to British Columbia. Yep.
Smart. It was it's been -48, -49 here for the last couple of days. So we're right in the middle of the cold. And it's pretty rare that it actually gets to -50 here. So I mean, you don't get much closer than that to so we got a nice stretch of cold weather here. So anyways, shout out to Rajat. I'm sure he's wishing he was on a beach somewhere, but he's in fact the opposite of that. So at least he'll be well fed. Hopefully cook that baby up.
Yeah.
Okay, so Fadima says I will create a Lightning address. What would you recommend for that, Forrest? What's your go-to? Koinos?
Yeah, but I kind of want to start stepping away. I mean, Koinos is just so good with its user interface, but it's now been 2 different times where it's been a little bit unreliable for me. Which is, I don't fault the organization over there. It's a small team. It's a small organization trying to do really big things. So I don't fault them at all for that. But I don't know. I don't really have another recommendation. I mean, Speed is good. Wallet of Satoshi is good, but I think both of those have sort of they're maybe not the most privately centered ones, which I don't love. So I don't know. For a custodial Lightning wallet, I don't have a great answer right now. I need to do a little more deep dive. What about yourself? Do you have an answer for that?
I actually love Wallet of Satoshi. Like I've been using Wallet of Satoshi now for years, and
Yeah.
I've never had any issues with them. Why do you say that they're not as private? What makes you say that?
Well, I think that they're about probably as private as most custodial Lightning services go, which means that we don't know if they have data logs, if they log your IP, if you're downloading it from the Play Store, kind of what kind of data information and metadata is getting out there. It's not somewhere that I would necessarily trust sort of non KYC Bitcoin to land, because you're sort of leaving some data with them potentially.
Through
That's
the App
just
Store.
well, the App Store is going to have some information, like the fact that you downloaded it, and potentially there's going to be communication between your operating system and the app itself. But it's more so, I'm thinking Wallet of Satoshi themselves, right? Like, I think they're Australian. They're probably very compliant with the regulations and laws. So what does that mean? I haven't fully done my due diligence, but it's more so coming from a hunch that I'm thinking like they're going to be reporting everything that they legally have to report. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, I don't know if that's any better or worse than any other custodial Lightning service.
I was going to say, like, from my experience, the reason I like Wallet of Satoshi, it's a good and a bad thing. You can essentially download a Wallet of Satoshi and you can start using it that second.
Yep.
Like you actually don't have to register an email account or anything like that. Like you can just, that's the only one that I'm aware of that you can actually do that. Which is and the reason why it's a bad thing is because I've actually lost sats in the process because I didn't link it with an email address, and then I updated phones or something happened to my phone and all my sats were gone.
Yeah, but I mean, there's Koinos is the same, right? There's no, I mean, you create a username and password, but there's nothing linking you to that, and then there's also nothing you have to download. You just use it in a web browser,
Right.
which can be even more private. If you're
Agreed.
using something like Tor or a VPN, although you're trusting the VPN data logs at that point. Yeah, I mean, the other suggestion out there, but it has limited functionality compared to other ones, is Aqua, right? Or something similar to Aqua, but it doesn't. It only uses Lightning on like it swaps to Lightning, right? So you don't have a Lightning receive address that really functions very well, which I think is a huge downside of Aqua, in my opinion.
Agreed. But other than that, I use Aqua pretty much every day.
Yeah,
I kind of use it as my in between, like a Lightning and a cold storage. It's kind of my in between wallet there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Aqua's awesome. They were supposed to come out with a non KYC credit card last year, but I think that got kiboshed.
They had one for a while, but it was limited to locations, and then it did get completely canceled just recently. So
Yeah,
they had to refund a bunch of people, and yeah. I
shitty.
mean, I was surprised that that there was. I think they partnered with Visa for that. So like, I was surprised that that was going to be happening at all.
Yeah, me
to begin
too.
with.
And I'm also surprised that it didn't go through if Visa's involved with it.
I know. Yeah. It's crazy.
Stan says Phoenix is a good custodial Lightning wallet. It is. I love Phoenix. Actually, that's where I kind of learned to use Lightning, which good and bad. I learned a few hard lessons there, but Phoenix is the same. You don't get a static Phoenix address with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. Like, Lightning is an unbelievable technology, but the fact that there's sort of, for one, there's two different instances of Lightning that are compatible with each other, right? There's LND and then there's Core Lightning, and they both, like, Core Lightning has Bolt 12, which is a useful service, and LND doesn't. So there's levels of not being interoperable just on like the base network, but then every single wallet, it's sort of up to them to include features that Lightning has or not. and therefore there can just be these massive interoperable problems that are so annoying. Like I've tried to pay with Aqua Wallet, and it won't scan in like certain invoices that are generated. I think somebody was using Moon Wallet. It wouldn't work. Like I had to use a completely different Lightning service because it doesn't have the human readable Lightning address. It seems like something they could do, and then it seems like, in my opinion, and I don't know, I haven't looked at the code, but they could have a human readable address that you have with your Aqua account, and then as soon as you receive funds there, it just swaps it into Liquid for you, which is back to their original system. I don't know, maybe there's some technical thing that I'm not seeing there of why they don't do that, but I think that would be unreal. I think if they did that, Aqua would just stand out above and beyond all the others because it's self custody. You can self custody the sort of layer 2 or the side chain, which is Liquid.
Yep.
You can self custody it with your same 12 words that you self custody Bitcoin with on the same app or USDT with. And if your wallet gets lost, you have those 12 words, you can recover all of those assets. It's just a no-brainer.
Which is huge.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I'd say about that is I saw I forget his name now, but he was one of the guys that works with Jan3, which is the company that has the Aqua Wallet. And he was on that BTC session show where it just stopped working that one day. Remember when it just shut off?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was on there, right? Anyways,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was.
Right.
But Ben actually, like BTC Sessions actually asked him, when are they going to have a static Lightning address with the Aqua Wallet? And he asked that question, and then he layered another question on top of it. And then they never circled back to the static address because I was listening pretty attentively to it. But when Ben said that, he had a little bit of a smirk. So to me, that would suggest that they're kind of in the process of it, or they're going to be announcing something soon, just based on his facial expression.
Yeah. And have you used Bull Bitcoin? Because we got a question here
from Camille.
Bull Bitcoin's an exchange, but they also created a wallet, which is really great in my opinion. I actually don't know. I never checked out the feature if they have a human readable address type, but it works very similarly as Aqua does with Liquid, just being able to swap in between self custody at 12 words. You can connect your own node to it, and actually you can make it so that it won't automatically connect to public nodes, which is a really kind of good safety feature. It's a great wallet in my opinion as well.
Have you used it?
I've used it, but I haven't done the full extensive, I actually don't know if they have human readable Lightning addresses or not.
I'm gonna download it right now, live on the air.
Nice. Yeah.
And what was I going to say there, Forrest? Damn it. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So Bull Bitcoin's actually available. They started in here, and France is Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the next place they went to was France, maybe. Anyways, they're available in like Costa Rica. That's where Bitcoin Jungle is, which France is a big part of.
Mm-hmm.
Canada, Europe. There's Mexico. So the exchange itself, if you want to buy Bitcoin from Bull Bitcoin, they got quite a few options now. But you don't need to be a Bull Bitcoin customer. Like you don't have to have an account there to buy Bitcoin to actually use the app, right?
Yeah, you can use the app without being a Bull Bitcoin customer, but you can't buy Bitcoin through the app.
Right.
Yeah. So their wallet actually allows you to connect to your Bull Bitcoin account somehow. Again, this isn't something I've tested out in there. But then you could buy Bitcoin directly to your self custody, which is a really cool solution as well, because Bull Bitcoin, like all the other good Bitcoin Canadian exchanges out there, is non-custodial, just like Bitcoin Well and Beaver Bitcoin, where you send dollars, they send you Bitcoin to your self custody. And sort of the problem with that is, well, I haven't learned self custody yet, right? That's sort of the problem for many beginners, is they just use Coinbase or whatever because they can connect their bank account, buy Bitcoin, and they don't have to figure out self-custody because it just sits in their Coinbase account. Whereas non-custodial sort of forces you into self-custody. But I think Bull Bitcoin has done something really smart here by developing this wallet. So it actually bridges the gap of, okay, you can buy Bitcoin with us. it's going to directly go to this wallet of yours, and so you're taking self custody immediately. Like there's
Yeah.
no option not to, and we have the solution for you, which is our wallet that we developed. Um,
Yeah. You don't have to send them elsewhere.
you don't have to send them elsewhere, and they, it's an open source, well developed software wallet. It's still a software wallet,
Yeah.
but it works. It works well, and yeah, sort of to answer your question there. It's as good as Aqua in the way that it functions very similarly to Aqua, I would say.
Yep.
It uses layer 2, it uses Lightning, it uses Liquid in the same way of swapping in between. And yeah, I need to do a deeper dive to see if they have human readable Lightning addresses. If they've solved that problem, then I would say they're better than Aqua. I think that's like the one major problem I have with Aqua.
It doesn't look like it to me.
Yeah. So there must be something technical restricting them from doing that, but it's probably not insurmountable at some point.
Yeah, you can obviously you can send a Lightning invoice, but I don't see any place here where you would. No,
Have
it
an
just keeps
address.
generating different Lightning invoices. Shitty.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for too. I think that's going to be whenever Aqua or Bull Bitcoin or whomever figures it out. I think they're going to have a pretty good lead actually for because I think there's a lot of people waiting for that.
Yeah. I think you're right. And a lot of people that don't know that that is what they actually want and need out of a hardware wallet or a software wallet. But then it's just going to be all the influencer, all the Bitcoiners that are in the know are just going to be like, yeah, this is the solution for a software wallet because it does everything you need it to do.
Yeah.
And right now, it's hard to, as I said earlier, it's kind of hard to recommend one because they all sort of they work with each other, and then they work with some of the other ones, but some of them aren't. It's just, why do we have this compatibility issue still, even though the base layer and the Bitcoin and the Lightning network are all very well interoperable between each other. We have this software stack on top of that are the wallets that have issues with each other. It's a weird system.
It is, and it seems to be getting better. Like I remember when I first started using Lightning, it was a lot more choppy. There was a lot more failures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It seems like it's getting better. But I guess to kind of round things out here with Camille's question, he said that he finds Aqua is better than Bull Bitcoin. Bull Bitcoin seems a little bit glitchy. I think Aqua also has a little bit of glitch. Sometimes I have to close the app and restart it. So I would, for anybody out there listening, I would say that Aqua and Bull Bitcoin are, like Forrest said, pretty much one and one. I didn't see any real difference there between the two. Wallet of Satoshi, I love their wallet. That's kind of my main recommendation. But the only downside to Wallet of Satoshi for me, other than some of the privacy stuff Forrest alluded to, is the fact that you have to go through some hoops to create a custom address, which makes sense just to kind of prevent spam and people claiming a bunch of addresses. But if you use Coinos or Rizful.com, coinos.io, you can essentially just create a free custom address as soon as you get going with it. So I like that about those ones, but they don't seem to be as reliable as Wallet of Satoshi for me.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never
Smaller
tried
nodes probably, eh?
What's that, sorry?
Probably smaller Lightning nodes.
Yeah, smaller channel capacity and maybe more demand. I know Coinos is a very, very popular wallet if you look at actual usage, and they have the one reason I love them is they have Liquid, they have Lightning, they have Nostr Wallet Connect,
Yeah,
and it's all under the hood. So if you receive Bitcoin, you can send Lightning, and it'll just swap it and charge you a fee to do so. And the Nostr Wallet Connect is super, super useful, and I think that's a huge part of the demand. Is like, if you're going to use Nostr, it's very, very easy to use a Coinos wallet because you just paste in the Nostr Wallet Connect string, and boom, you can receive Sats, you can send Sats. It's so easy, but that creates a huge amount of demand for their channel capacity, and if they're not able to handle that, then they're going to have problems. They're going to go down. They're going to have failures. And I think that's probably what they've been struggling with. The other thing too is they have Bolt 12, meaning they run a core Lightning, and that Bolt 12 is something you need for Ocean mining pool, and there's sort of only one direction that mining rewards is going to go. It's going to be liquidity into the Coinos channel,
Right.
And if they can't balance that, all of that Bitcoin mining rewards coming from Ocean, then that's going to be a problem for them too. So I think they're struggling with balancing everything.
Yeah. But do you want to maybe just explain that? Because we're kind of going over a couple of technical things that some people might not necessarily understand, which is good. You know, when I was learning about Bitcoin, basically what I did, I would just listen to things that I didn't understand yet. Like literally, I would turn on like NVK Bitcoin.review, 2 hours of just guys, super technical guys, like the guys that develop these actual wallets, having conversation. And I would maybe understand like 5% of the conversation, but I got better. I started connecting some dots when something would come up later. But maybe just explain what the Ocean part of that was with the mining rewards and why that would be relevant for people.
Like the challenge of inbound and outbound liquidity?
No, not so much that. Just in terms of like if somebody were to start home mining, why they would want to use like Bolt 12 versus not using that.
Oh, okay. Well, Bolt 12 allows somebody to sign a message and to basically verify ownership of a wallet is my understanding of it. So that is something that Ocean requires to be able to uh, connect a Lightning receive address for your mining rewards. So if you want to pool mine, if you have a miner at home and you want to mine in a pool so that your hash rate contributes to potentially mining a block, if that hash rate of the entire amount of everybody pooling their hash rate together hits a block, you will get a little chunk of Bitcoin for the amount of hash rate you've contributed. You can mine with Ocean and not have Lightning connected, but you'll build up a balance of rewards, and it has to end up being that they won't send you that balance until it reaches basically 1,000,000 Satoshis. So if you're using a little home miner like a Bidax, that's going to take you years and years and years, and maybe never. You might never hit that threshold. So Lightning is the solution that Ocean has created, and they require a Bolt 12 offer, which creates a sort of a signing of a message and ownership that you have with access to that wallet that it's attached to. So that's just the system that they've created to verify it. So you verify a message using a Bolt 12 offer, and then they will send you Lightning payments to your Lightning address instead of an on-chain balance. There's maybe other ways to do that to verify ownership of an address, but it would probably require some sort of KYC. So the entire Ocean process, you can receive Bitcoin over the Lightning Network, only having ever given them a Bitcoin address and having signed messages using Bolt 12 and another and something like Sparrow that allows you to sign and verify messages. And that entire time, you're pseudonymous, right? You're only ever connected to your Bitcoin wallet address, nothing else. So that allows you to contribute to the Ocean mining pool, receive Lightning payments, and all of that is non-KYC, where that might not be the case if you want to try to verify ownership of whoever's hashing in your pool for other pools out there. There's actually like sort of just generally people say, oh, mining Bitcoin is a way to get non-KYC Bitcoin. And that's generally true, but and it's definitely true in a non-pooled fashion or a solo mining fashion.
Right.
But pooled mining is becoming there's more and more KYC there. So I think this is sort of the workaround to connect Lightning payments and have it in a non-KYC fashion that Ocean has found. And they're very popular with plebs, right? They have a lot of hash rate now, and which means a lot of payments. And Bolt 12 is not, I mean, LND does not have Bolt 12, and I think LND is probably the more popular Lightning implementation out there. So a lot of people are struggling. Hey, how do I get this to work? Now I have to run my own node, Bitcoin node. I have to run my own core Lightning node. I have to generate a Bolt 12 offering, or I can use Coinos because they're the only ones that will work that way. I don't know if they're the only ones, but they're a very popular one that has a Bolt 12 offer that they can connect to.
Right.
So and then that creates the issue that we talked about of too much inbound liquidity.
Yeah, because there would be nothing flowing back from Coinos to the miners. It's just a one way ticket.
or out in general to other Lightning channels. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because they just have so much coming in, and then they need to take it out to creep to not hit the max of their total amount within that channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a hard enough time balancing my Phoenix wallet's liquidity, so I can't imagine how Coinos does it and what they're going through there. But yeah, just for kind of like to round this part of the conversation out, if you are somebody who's like considering getting a Bitcoin miner, like something like a BitX in the background there, they're about $200, and you can contribute some of your electricity essentially to the Bitcoin network. But you have to decide kind of when you're getting it set up if you want to do solo mining, which is kind of like a lottery ticket that your specific miner is going to hit a block, or you can go to pool mining. And so kind of what Forrest was talking about there, if you go the pool mining route, then you have to have a receive address for them to send you those sats for contributing your hash rate to the network. And so if you have an on-chain, he said 1 million sats is that the actual amount or just an approximate?
It's an approximate. It's 1 million something.
Which if you just have a small miner like this at your house, it would take a very long time for you to reach 1 million sats for them to send you a payment. So that's why people like to do it on Lightning, and that's what Coinos and Ocean, that's what makes them kind of unique in the space, that allow you to do that without having to wait a decade to get any sort of payment for it. So pretty cool. Are you mining, Forrest? Are you home mining?
Yeah, I got a little BitX. Let's see if I can point it. There's my BitX right there. Yep, that's pointed towards Ocean, connected through Datum on my own node, and it is actually going to Coinos. I could set it up with Core Lightning as well, but I don't have that set up right now. So it is cool. Yeah,
I saw Ocean hit a block this morning.
Well, there we go. I'll get paid out.
Do you get a little notification when that happens?
No, I don't know. Maybe you can do that. I don't know. That'd be cool. But no, you do get paid. You're every time they hit a block, you actually get paid. Where that's different than most mining pools too. I don't know if people realize that. People kind of think that you get paid exactly for the hash rate you contribute based on the profits that the mining pool gets, but that's not the case. There's most mining pools just pay you based on your hash rate and an estimate, and then that ends up actually being typically less than what the pool is actually making based on their luck.
Because they would have to do it that way because they wouldn't want to end up in the reds, right?
Yeah.
So they would underestimate.
And people and big mining operations will prefer that over Ocean because there's an unpredictable element with mining to the pool of Ocean. Because they could have really bad luck and never mine a block, and all that hash rate you've contributed continues to get basically wasted in a sense, in the sense of you earning any profit. Whereas if you contribute to these other pools, they'll pay you even if they have bad luck. So it's steady, and businesses are all about sort of steady income and being able to pay the bills and pay for the miners and all that, right? So,
and that's like the bigger boys, like the F2 pool, the Ant pools, they all do that, right? It's a fixed pool or fixed payment something, FPPS.
Yeah, something like that. I know. Yeah, there's an abbreviation for it. I don't know what the words are, but yeah,
doesn't matter too much. But yeah, good for anybody who cares out there about Lightning and mining stuff. We didn't really intend on doing it, but that was a nice half-hour chat about it. Forrest, silver hit $100 today. You see that?
Did it? Okay. Wow. Robert Kiyosaki's been calling for that for about 20 years. So wow, he's finally right.
Oh man, isn't that true?
Yeah.
I want to give a big shout out here to Letha. She zapped the Maple Reserve 5,000 Freedom units. Wow. So thank you, Letha. Letha the icon, as she's known around these parts. So we are on Nostr, actually. We were talking about CoinOS or Coinos, whatever you call it. And so we are live on the Zap stream today. So shout out to everybody on the Zap stream. I wanted to bring up a post from, I think it was Elon. But I need to find it here. But essentially, I was going to talk about it because kind of my theory on this is like, you got gold bugs, you got silver bugs or precious metal people, and you got Bitcoiners. And we're all, getting away from the dollar. We're all doing the same kind of thing. it's just, to me, the biggest difference for me is that gold, silver, precious metal holders, they've spent so many years. You said 20 years there for Robert Kiyosaki. They've just had such a different lens of the world than Bitcoiners do. Like, they've almost been hoping that we're going to have an apocalypse, that we're going to go into a doomsday scenario and everything's like in chaos, and they think that they're finally going to get some use out of their shiny rocks. And it's like, Bitcoiners to me are much different than that. Bitcoiners are also getting away from the fiat system. But to me, the people that I associate with in Bitcoin anyways are actually very hopeful. It's almost like the exact opposite of what the precious metal stackers have been living. Just imagine, even if you end up being right, I just feel like that's such a bad way to spend your life, is just like betting on the world to fail, versus somebody like me, somebody like you, who's actually betting on humanity, betting for the world to actually move to a better place, and Bitcoin be the foundation of that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think, there's sort of these end scenarios in both camps if we play it out all the way to sort of the end. I mean, there's places along the way, but with gold, one of the end game scenarios or visions of the future that sees gold and silver as the de facto currency is, as you said, sort of a dystopian future of, you know, uh, in my opinion, at that stage, it's canned goods and lead that ends up being valuable. And for a very brief moment in time, people are still willing to accept things like gold and silver because of their own bias of it having relative value, but again, not real. So if we play it all the way out to there, that doesn't even make sense anyway. But it's sort of all along that road to that destination that asset becomes more and more valuable. So it is sort of a fear trade, as somebody would say, right? Like, you're buying gold, you're buying silver because you're afraid of what's going to happen, and you need something that is stable, secure, and can't be debased, and has a historical track record. So it sort of nullifies the fear or protects you from a bad economic situation, which is why people invest in this. So like, these end goals or these end states of reality, it just has to trend towards there for these things to catch a bid in fiat terms. Because I think that the tail risk of those events actually happening are very, very low. And then the flip side of that is Bitcoin, where we don't think the internet's going to go down. We don't think that the grid is going to go down. We understand that those things are both effectively decentralized as well. Where if again, we can point to recent events with Iran. The grid went down, the internet went down, the cell service went down and was restricted. So those people were unable maybe to interact and use Bitcoin, but anybody that had Bitcoin prior to that is still able to move to another part of the world eventually, right, from fleeing or what have you, and get access to their Bitcoin again and have retained their value when their currency collapsed, because the grid and the internet are effectively decentralized. It's not a universal thing that's going to happen. So that protects you in that sort of doomsday scenario as well. But you're right, where Bitcoiners have this vision of the future, which some might say is a tail risk as well, or a sort of a tail scenario of this idealistic utopia of people being on sound money, using an energy backed or a real cost of production asset to buy goods and services. Their purchasing power increases. There's no government that can print money. My camera's dying here, but I'm still here. I'll still rant for a second.
I'll go black too. Just I removed myself.
So that, I think, is actually way more likely than the lead and tin can scenario that gold bugs see as being a reason to hold gold, because we converge on one best money, which is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin can be used as a medium of exchange and as a store of value in any environment, whether it's utopian, dystopian, whatever. It just ends up being the most useful in that case, because it cannot be printed. It is effectively decentralized and holds all of those important values. And the other thing I'll just say there is, I don't think gold bugs and silver bugs and precious metal bugs are intentionally living in a place of fear, and that's why they're holding those assets. I think they genuinely believe that, they feel that way, and that's why they're attracted to those things. There can maybe be some reflexive type of cycle that kind of draws them in, and they see content that, oh, this thing's collapsing, and there's red flames in the thumbnail of every video they watch and whatnot. But I think those people have this sense of fear from something probably deeper within that draws them to that. And I think rightfully so. If you're thinking about the structure of the governments and the fiat system, right? Like they are right. They are right about those
Yep.
things. Money is backed by nothing. Central bankers have way too much control. Government spending is out of control. And they know they can spend more because they have the safety net of the fiat money printer. Everybody is trying to get a piece of theirs before the whole thing collapses, right? The military industrial complex wants wars so they can build bombs and they can build guns and they can sell those guns, they can extract the value out, they can buy assets with it. All of that is true, and all of that is a good thesis to have precious metals that cannot be debased and cannot be stolen from, but none of them have those properties, the characteristics of money, as sound as Bitcoin. It's just really that simple.
Yeah, well said. And I actually never really thought about that in the sense of, I think people, including myself, and this is something I'm, actively trying to change my wiring around. But some people, I think, would assume that uh, people are betting on the world collapse or a doomsday apocalyptic scenario because they hold gold. But in fact, it's the opposite. They're holding gold because they believe that there is some sort of apocalyptic outcome here, and
Yeah.
that's very much what I was before I found Bitcoin. I was very much black pilled, very much depressed and anxious about what's coming next, and it's a pretty poor way to live. I'm not going to lie, and I think that if Bitcoin didn't exist, I would definitely be a silver bug. I like silver myself, and I still have a little bit of silver, but um, yeah, it's just once you see the differences, once you actually shine a light on the properties and the unique characteristics that Bitcoin has, and the one that stands out most to me for anybody out there who's like, oh shit, silver's $100 and probably going up more. It's like, well, Bitcoin's time is going to come, number one. So
Yeah.
just be patient with that. But the other thing too is all these people in Davos are talking about tokenization, and we might have talked about this on one of the last episodes, but I think the biggest thing is that even if gold was tokenized, even if they were able to tokenize silver and even stocks, even if, and I'm guessing that's coming. Like as soon as you hear Larry Fink say something a few times that's going to come, it's probably going to happen.
Mhm.
So I have no doubt that that's going to happen. I think that the biggest issue with that is the fact that it still relies on third-party trust. So you still, even if you can move it quick around the internet, you can send it to a QR code, you can hold it in self custody. You still have to trust that somebody else on the other side of this is actually holding the asset that you have claimed to have custody to, and you have to trust that they have that. Bitcoin is the asset that's being held, and you have the keys to that. You don't have to trust anybody there. That's the big difference, I think,
Mhm.
that a lot of people fail to see because they can't touch Bitcoin.
Yeah, there's no trust with Bitcoin, and trust is the linchpin of all of these other systems.
Yeah.
Even gold and silver, right? It's catching a major bid because basically the people the structure that was trying to suppress the cost of these because they're inputs into goods, and if the cost is realized, their actual cost is realized, it causes massive inflation and therefore depressed profits for companies. So basically, the suppression that has happened on these. If you talk to a silver bug, 10, 15, 20 years ago, today, all the time, they're going to be talking about, oh, the price of silver is suppressed. They got paper silver, they got futures, they're buying and selling these contracts. These contracts are never actualized in a physical sense. There's a huge amount of friction if you ever try to, and all of that is true.
Which
And
is true,
basically, yeah, and all of it's true, but it's always, when is that going to be seen, right? And we're kind of seeing that now, and that's why these are catching a massive bid, is because the people that were shorting this essentially and suppressing the price have now flipped their position and they're going long with it. And it's because there is too much physical demand for it. Basically, there are people wanting to take the Bitcoin, or not the Bitcoin, the gold and silver. And then there's the silver has industrial uses, as I've stated, which are hard to avoid to some degree. There's the ability to move to other metals, but then the manufacturing process and development has to change, and there's all these lag effects, right? So I suspect these things will continue to catch a bid for a while based on just those fundamentals. But ultimately, gold stockpile is going to double in the next 60 years. In an estimate, and Bitcoin's stockpile is never going to double, right? There's 1 million more coins ever to be released, and so and again, it comes back to that trustlessness. So if we talk about tokenization, I mentioned silver futures. That is tokenized silver, right? It's not tokenized on crypto rails. It's tokenized in future rails, in future contract rails in the financial system.
Right.
That is a form of tokenization. So what is tokenization? What is tokenizing on crypto rails solving? It's not solving anything. There still needs to be physical enforcement in the physical layer. Otherwise, it can be cheated because it still requires trust. And that's ultimately one of the major innovations of Bitcoin, is that it is trust minimized. There is still slight degrees of trust at different layers. And wherever there's trust within Bitcoin is where there is failures. So there was trust when you held your Bitcoin on FTX. FTX failed. There was trust when you lent your Bitcoin through BlockFi and they rehypothecated it and lent it out and everybody was leveraged on crypto coins. BlockFi failed. So any moment of trust, if you're wondering about trust, and that's why we say, oh, custodial wallets are good for $100, $150, and then you take everything off, right? Because that's a point of trust when you have your Bitcoin held by somebody else. And ultimately, the base layer of Bitcoin, when you run your own node, when you have it in cold storage, when you interact peer-to-peer, where's the trust? There's such little trust there. You're trusting that all the nodes are all running the same version of Bitcoin or the same blockchain of Bitcoin, that we all see the same transactions. And in fact, it only works if that's the case. So then there's no trust there either, right? Because it literally will not work within the network to send something that isn't Bitcoin. So it's so trust minimized, and therefore there's so few areas of failure. And ultimately, that's the biggest problem with fiat, is that it's all based on trust. You have to trust moment to moment. If you try to give somebody else fiat, you have to trust that they're going to accept it for the goods and services that they priced it at. And then as soon as they have the fiat, they have to trust that tomorrow they're going to be able to buy relatively the same amount of goods and services that they exchanged you for the fiat. And none of that is true. And then there's so many layers of trust beyond that as well. Just how much is issued, how much is held, none of that's known. So it's all built on trust, and that's a vulnerability, major vulnerability,
big time. And the other thing too with that is the manipulation of silver and gold, and again, I think we both agreed that has definitely been happening for a lot of different reasons. I think that when we think about how the world works now and how inflation's essentially exported to different countries where we can, get cheap labor out of them, bring it back here. That's essentially what America's been doing for decades now, is exporting their inflation to other people. And the other thing with that too is, like, I feel like if we had true costs, if we were using the same kind of qualities as we did 40, 50 years ago, the cost of things would be 100x what they actually are right now. So without them able to actually raise the price of everything, what they do instead is they just find cheaper quality products and just keep finding cheaper and cheaper. That's why we pretty much have engine oil in all of our food products here in Canada, because of that reason, because it's so cheap. And I feel like it's the same thing with silver. If we knew the fair price of silver, even our cell phones would be 10, 20, 30x. So there's reasons for it, but that's the point that I'm trying to get here, is that Bitcoin also, in my opinion, some people, Forrest, might even disagree with this, but I think Bitcoin is still very much manipulated. And I think that the reason why they're able to manipulate it is because so many people actually do trust exchanges like Coinbase, instead of actually taking some responsibility and just simply holding their own keys. Because if all Bitcoiners just simply took self custody of their Bitcoin, they would have a far much harder time manipulating the price. But because people are lazy, because people are used to trusting other people with things, they leave it on the exchange, and then they can essentially create multiple versions of that Bitcoin to sell here, to sell there, to sell there. And essentially they're happy to take your cash, but how much Bitcoin are they actually holding versus how much Bitcoin do they owe to their customers? That's kind of what I'm thinking about. But that's kind of what we want to talk about today is holding your own keys. So we'll maybe wrap this part up for us, but I wanted to say, like, we'll spend a bit of time in 5 or 10 minutes from now talking about Bitcoin security stuff, because that's Forrest and I's favorite topic. So if you do have any questions or any concerns about your own setup, obviously don't say too much, but we're happy to help. This is kind of, we're going to turn it into a bit of a Q&A, security Q&A, because we're here. And yeah.
What do you think about answering this question before we get into it? This is from Camille. He says, "Do we prefer a decent government or a government collapse and roaming gangs controlling our lives?"
Yeah.
Well, we have. I mean, the government isn't roaming, but we have a gang that controls our lives.
True. Very true.
Called the government. There's a cartel that controls.
They're roaming too. They just don't look like cartels. They got purple hair.
Yeah, and I mean the central banks basically have a control. I mean, cartel is basically the control of something, right? A control of the good through force, and the central bank has control over the ability to counterfeit money. So they're a cartel as well. So I don't really see any difference between them really, except one wears suits and the other one, might not. But what he asked there is, do we prefer a decent government? I think that is the real risk to Bitcoin, and what feels inevitable with Bitcoin is responsibility and trust being reinstilled into the fiat system, because there's austerity, there's paying down debt, there's real growth, not just printed growth. There's lack of government spending, and things are allowed to collapse. A system that actually works, that requires some trust, but it is, the problem that Bitcoin solves has become so obvious to so many people, which is the problem of the fiat system. If that problem becomes less obvious because there's better spending, there's debt repayment, there's all of these kind of things that are not going to happen, in my opinion, then Bitcoin becomes less useful. The problem becomes less obvious. And that's not, I mean, if that's the biggest risk to Bitcoin, there's no risk at all, in my opinion, because I don't see that happening. It's just going to get worse.
Yeah, I think we'd have a better odds of seeing a pig flying through the air at this point.
Yeah.
Country Club Hillbilly says, "I guess Rajat didn't survive the Titanic accident." I wanted to bring this up. This was something that the three of us, we got a group chat, obviously, between Forrest, Rajat, and I, and we were all pretty pumped to be featured in this legendary video from Another Frog. I didn't want to play it today because I feel like that's a little bit, whatever. But
it's like
maybe we should link it somewhere.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll link it in the chat.
Okay. So yeah, this was a great video here made by Another Frog, and included some very well-known Bitcoiners, Sailor, Maulers, even Jack Dorsey was on there, and Elon was flying around in a little hoverboard too, I think.
Yep.
G Money was on there. Who else? BTC Sessions.
Jeff Booth.
Yeah. Larry Lepard.
Yeah, Larry.
So it was quite the honor. And Forrest actually was the one that mentioned the log. I wonder if Another Frog intentionally thought of a maple log for us to be hanging out on there. But anyways, really cool video. And it was really cool for us to be included in that group of legends, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Here, I'll post the Nostr link for people with that. And I will also find it on X as well. It's awesome. I watched this like 3 times. It's my comment didn't work. I'll have to share it privately with you, and then you'll have to
put it in the private chat. Then I'll put it in there. Primal. There we go. Yeah,
So well
definitely
done.
take some time, and it's about 2-minute video, but it'll get you going.
Yeah.
And I finally found the tweet from Elon here. So this is what Elon said. He said, "For quality of life, it is better to err on the side of being an optimist and wrong rather than a pessimist and right."
Yeah. Yeah,
I
quality of life. I mean, this is the scarcest asset we have is our time, which is our life. And yeah, being pessimistic is essentially living in a negative mindset, and everything around you is looking worse than it could. And this kind of plays into like the ignorance is bliss kind of saying as
yeah.
well, right? If you don't know about a problem, then that problem doesn't exist to you. So being optimistic is a cheat code for quality of life. Absolutely.
Yeah, I actually made I highly doubt that Elon saw my post on Nostr about it, but I essentially said the same kind of thing, worded not as well as Elon. But I just kind of alluded to the fact that I would rather spend 10 or 20 years being very optimistic and hopeful about our future, focused around Bitcoin, and then still be wrong
Hmm.
versus spending 10 or 20 years betting on the world to die, very pessimistic, or not die, but collapse, and then be right.
Yeah.
I would choose option A every day, because you can never get that time back. Those 20 years that you spent in a very hopeful, optimistic lens of the world, nobody can take that from you. Again, even if you're wrong about it, you were right in your own mind for those 20 years, and that's a
Hmm.
pretty damn good way to live, in my opinion. Versus being very fearful, very anxious, betting on humanity to collapse, and then being right at the end of that. I don't know. That's why I bet on Bitcoin versus gold, essentially, in a very nutshell.
Yeah, I think that's a great saying that you have there, Jor. And I think that you're right about that, but I also think that people people watching this and listening to this or have seen your tweet, they should reflect on that, because I think it's actually much more important to the individual than people might respect or understand. It's kind of caught me off that you just disappeared somehow. I'll just continue on. Maybe I'll answer some questions here until you're back. Let's see. Camille says, "If I buy non KYC Bitcoin, hey, you're back."
Sorry, buddy.
That's all right.
I don't know what happened there. I must have hit a button and everything just kind of stopped. I'm glad the stream didn't stop though. I thought
Yeah,
that's what happened.
yeah. No, I just said I think you're spot on there, and I think people should reflect on that, because I think that's underlooked at, that concept. Because yeah, I mean, people might disagree with you, but at least they should think about it.
Yeah.
I think it's very very important, and probably much deeper than people realize.
And Elon
Um,
said it. So whenever you're thinking the same thing as Elon, that's a good day.
yeah, I don't know. I have my problems with Elon.
Oh, so do I, but he's a pretty smart dude.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, I'm just going to answer this question that I started here. Camille asked about buying non KYC from Bitcoin Well through their Light, and then sent it to a Lightspeed wallet account, then send it to via Sparrow to my cold card queue. Is it still non KYC? Um, yeah, I would say yes, and I would also just say that there's potential privacy implications to every single aspect of that. If you're using your home network, if you're using a phone that's registered with you, if you've downloaded speed from the Google Play Store, if you're not using basically a graphene phone is going to solve a lot of the issues there for privacy. But there's potential privacy leaks within there, but I would still say I would say those are minor, and that largely I would absolutely consider this non KYC Bitcoin at that point.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think a lot of people kind of sleep on that too. Even with the non KYC option with Bitcoin Well, there's still a camera on the ATM,
Yeah.
right? So because you need to scan your QR code in order for them to know where to send the Bitcoin to. And unless you're fully masked in there, there's a pretty good chance you're going to be somewhere in that, or unless you're kind of ahead of it and you put your QR code before the camera fires up and make sure it stays there the whole time. But still, there's going to be cameras in the convenience store that you're getting it at. Like, there's so
Yeah.
much to consider here. And again, you can kind of go as far as you want to on the side of like paranoia. But if you're trying to keep it really, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that people need to go down that far?
No,
I don't either.
the answer is no. So I think it's really easy. I think it's really, really easy to be more private digitally than 90% of people out there. I think it's
Agreed.
incredibly easy to do that. And I think as you become more and more private, as you close the gap to the 100% more than anybody else, it gets harder and harder. And I think that it's doable for the vast majority of people to be 80% more private, or like to be 80% private digitally, and the last 20% is the hardest, and also has the least amount of juice to squeeze out of it too, because you're already vastly more private than anybody else at that point digitally. So that's what I would say there.
I fully agree with every word of that. And the other thing too is like, that's kind of going back to what we were just talking about there in terms of what your outlook of the world is, and how you spend your time and energy. And it's like, I just feel like you could live in this state of paranoia forever, and you could still end up getting screwed over. Even if you go far enough down that rabbit hole, you could still end up getting, whatever your worst fear is. I feel like the more energy you spend thinking about that, the more you're actually going to bring it into your life somehow. So it's like, you just got to find some balance there between staying somewhat private and going fully, overboard with it, because you don't want to live in that kind of state. I don't think that's any sort of life. Even if you do end up not getting caught per se, I just think that you're going to spend a lot of your best years looking over your shoulder when you don't really need to be.
It's so tough to do, and any slip up is going to reduce that from 100% to 95% private, and then there's no going back from that, because your digital trail, unless you disconnect yourself constantly, I mean, it's so challenging to be digitally 100% private. I'm making a course right now about it, and it's yeah, I mean, I think the course is going to teach people how to be 80% private digitally, and I think that's going to be 99% more private than anybody else. So
That's the target.
That's the target, I would say. Yeah.
Great point. Fadima.
I'm going to send the lightning. I'll send some sats that way right now.
Oh, can you do that?
Sure. Yeah.
How are you going to do it?
I'll just paste in the address.
How'd you copy it?
From the chat.
Oh, like you're actually watching it on YouTube?
On StreamYard.
Oh, you can copy that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
You don't know how to do that? You just select it and copy and paste it. It worked fine.
Doesn't show that way for me. Maybe mine's different. I don't know.
I'm gonna press send.
Do you want me
there
to bring
on
this
the
up?
Yeah, sure. Bring it up. 1,000 sats.
Let's see. Magic.
Boom.
Oh, there you go, Fadima. Good guess. Now you got to tell us now that the sats have already been sent. No takesy backsies here. But did you know that? Did you have inside information on Rajat's whereabouts before you said Montreal? Okay.
All right.
Yeah, let's we got some good questions coming in here. I missed a big zap here though, Forrest. Moravian. Moravian sent us 10,000 units of freedom. Big one.
Amazing.
So thank you. That's over in the Nostr chat. We got a decent little crew over there today. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's not, but today it looks like there's some folks over there. So if you are watching this on YouTube, the one thing I would say actually is this is one way to support the boys. We don't have any sponsors on here. We don't put any ads on during the live streams. So we do kind of rely on the community for a little bit of support. So big shout out to Letha, big shout out to Moravian, and somebody else also, I think, sent 250 sats to that Coinos. But Forrest, have you seen that new Nostr website to join Nostr? You checked it out yet?
No.
Frick, it's sweet, man. If anybody out there is 250 sats, there was no message attached to it though, so I don't know who it's from, but we appreciate it. But join Nostr. I'll just bring it up here quickly because that's one thing I've struggled with for the last couple of years, like trying to get people onto Nostr, is I just never had a real good place to send people to. But this resource here is pretty sweet. It was built by a guy named Uno on Nostr. So It's pretty hard to mess this up for anybody out there who's been listening to our show and kind of listening to Forrest or myself's channel. We're pretty big on Nostr.
What's the website? What's the website?
It's joinnosr.com. I'll put it in the chat there.
Okay.
But it kind of like guides you through the whole process of like setting up your keys. It's pretty badass. So you go ready, and it'll actually walk you through kind of the reasons for it. If you decide to, like I always, whenever I'm showing this to people, I say, show me, because it kind of gives you why you want to be on Nostr. Your account belongs to you, not a company. Nobody can delete your profile or take your voice away. Talk to anyone, anywhere without filters. And it's a protocol for everyone, owned by no one, kind of like Bitcoin. So you start your new account, you can just put in whenever you want to there. This is, you can always change this stuff later, but this is what you really want to pay attention to. You got a npub, which is kind of your identifier. This is how people are going to find you on Nostr. And then you got your nsec, your security key here. So this is very similar to like a Bitcoin receive address, which you can share with other people if you want them to send you Bitcoin. So this is like your public address here. It's called the npub. And then you have an nsec, which is kind of like your password, almost like your private key. So the cool thing about Nostr that's so much different than everything else is you could actually take this nsec, your private key, and you could log into like hundreds of different applications with that. And your profile is going to kind of carry forward every time. So everybody you're following, everybody who follows you, all the posts you've made in the past, they all kind of carry forward with you regardless of where you are. So just think about it like if you had an X account, an Instagram account, a YouTube account, a Rumble account, a TikTok account, but you just had one login for all those, and you can kind of bounce between them, and you're following the same people, all your posts are there. So these are the two things that you want to keep pretty private and safe. So then you can say, I've saved it, and then you put in your display name that you want to see, and then it actually gives you, we're doing it live. It creates the thing for you. And then you can actually find some people to follow there. I don't know if Forrest and I are on this or not, or how you get on that list, but
you might be. You're pretty popular on there.
Nope. Not popular enough. I want to get on one of those lists, though. I feel like that's kind of the main boost for people who have like tens of thousands of followers on there, is they get on these lists.
100%.
So I would actually recommend you follow these people, because at least you'll have something kind of on your main feed there right off the hop, because there's no algorithms on Nostr.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make first post, you can add to it, you can customize it, and then boom, you're done. So then you can say, what are you on? iPhone, Android, desktop, and it'll kind of give you a couple different options here, and it'll take you right there based on what device you're on. Pretty slick.
Awesome.
Desktop. So for anybody who's looking to join Nostr, has been thinking about it, you don't have any excuses anymore. Join Nostr.com, get set up on there, and figure out how to, you don't really have to figure it out. You just follow the steps.
That's awesome. That's so cool. You could do that, or you could watch the 20-minute long video I made basically showing you how to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is
We're
what
making
I've
ourselves obsolete here, Forrest.
We are. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I like that. I mean, the more knowledge out there, the only reason I made that video was because I felt like there was a gap of knowledge. So, and people learn at different mediums. So this is awesome. I think it's, as you said, really slick what he did there. It looks great. Works really well. Easy. That's what we need. Nostr has built into it, and I don't see that going away. Just a slight learning curve to it, and then it has the struggle of every other network, which is the network has to reach a mass before it grows continuously after that. So building the beginning of a network is the hardest part. So it's got a lot of headwinds against it, and just the way it's built, the way it functions is a headwind, considering the complexity and the challenge to getting started. So pretty awesome to see that for sure.
Yes. We got another zap here. We got 1,000 units of freedom from Citadel Daniel. Said, great show, guys, at Citadel Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Much appreciated, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say Hodl Dude here, but that's Daniel. Said, wonder if he vibe coded it. He did. He's actually, if you're on Nostr, look up Uno, UNO. And I'm pretty sure he left his job, left his career, and he's just kind of helping people build things now, which is
Cool.
pretty cool. Forrest does that too a lot of vibe coding.
I do, yeah. Yeah, I have a very ambitious vibe coding project that will tie into Nostr, and I have hit so many roadblocks with it, but I think it's so needed in this space. It's basically a voting system for the authenticity of Bitcoin influencers, and you have to actually vote with sats using a Nostr account. Um, because there's so many people that get into this space and watch whatever, and they follow Raoul Paul, and because of his macro takes, and then he's talking
Rug
about
Paul.
you don't even need Bitcoin. People don't know that these people are not trustworthy, right? So we need a voting system, in my opinion. But it's been very tough. I've ran into some roadblocks with that one.
Well, it's cool though. I tried vibe coding a little bit. I got pretty far with it. I just never got it live. It's still kind of just in no man's land right now, but it was fun. It cost me about $30 worth of Bitcoin to get through. And then I learned that I could have actually just been using Claude or Maple to kind of help me with a few things that I didn't really need to spend sats on. But it was fun. It was a good way to spend a Saturday afternoon when it's, minus 48 here. But that's a good point for us. I want to just dive into that a little bit further because, as we go further into this chaos, we've been talking about silver and gold and apocalyptic times, whatever. But I really think that there's going to be kind of a split in the road where people that just kind of follow the crowd and they continue kind of in the fiat system until somebody tells them that it's dead. But you also have this huge slew of people that have already kind of turned right and have taken the off ramp into Bitcoin. And I think that having this web of trust, I think that that's a really big part of Nostr. What it does is it provides that web of trust, not quite to the same thing that you're talking about there, but the world that we're going into here as the Bitcoiners who have taken the off ramp is a world without middlemen. And when you don't have middlemen, you have to rely on trust and reputation. And it's not something that you can pay for. It's something that you have to earn through time. And so whether it is joining something like Nostr, joining a community like Maple Bitcoin, just kind of finding ways to build your own reputation and make people, not make people trust you, but just do things and be authentic. And eventually that comes with time. But you can't wait until you need it. You can't buy it in the future. It's something that you pretty much got to start today and start working on, because we're kind of building that future already. The people who have turned off the road, that future is being built right now, which is really exciting. But you just don't want to wait until you kind of get slapped in the face and then you're miles and miles behind. So that's kind of what I would say on that.
100%. I mean, it's just going to become more and more important as well as things become easier and easier to fake with AI, right? Reputation and authenticity. These are a type of social currency that are created through work, through time, through effort, relationship building, content of character. And again, it cannot be bought. It can't really be bought. And I think I'm going to contradict myself here. The first beginning layer of it can be bought, and I think that's a problem, actually. So, like the idea of being able to deep fake and pretend that you're somebody else, you can do that through paying AI to do that, and that gives you a level of reputation if you're just faking and pretending to be somebody. So there needs to be solutions to like a problem like that, and that's a problem you raised in the school community. But there's going to be value to having way more reputation and social standing, I suppose, or whatever, however you might describe it, than just sort of the base amount that you might have as an individual. I think it's just going to compound and become so much more important.
Agreed.
Yeah,
very much.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the ATMs and stuff before, even finding ways to buy and sell Bitcoin and buy and sell things without the need for the existing system. If you want to be a little bit more private, which everybody deserves to have their own privacy in all aspects of life, including financial transactions, you kind of have to build that network yourself. No one's going to build it for you. You don't want to rely on a trusted party to build that for you. It's up to you. And it's the same kind of thing on Nostr. It's like, it's tough, Yeah, it's a little bit choppy. You don't have an algorithm of everything that they think you want to see or that they want you to see. You got to go out there and find it yourself. You got to go out there and meet people yourself and join a community and get onto Nostr, because it is turning into something that's not just nice to have anymore. It's almost imperative as a Bitcoiner.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, and I think Twitter's algorithm just went open source, so it's only a matter of time before somebody vibe codes an exact Twitter clone with Nostr
didn't know that.
content using the algorithm of Twitter. Because that could be seen as a positive, right? That Nostr doesn't have algorithms like X does, but there's a reason a lot of people use X, and it's part of it is the algorithm. I mean, of course, the network too, but somebody could just vibe code that in to a new client, and Bob's your uncle. No need for X.
Yeah, no doubt. I saw Bitcoin Nurse here. He put his NPub in there. The one thing I would say is, like, it's hard for people to copy and paste. Forrest can somehow. He's a magician, but I can't even do that. But yeah, if you're watching this and you're already on Nostr, just come back to this video after, or just leave for 2 seconds here while we kind of transition to the next thing, and just put your NPub in the comments. And then we'll try to, I'll try to make an effort tonight to go into the comments and follow from my account, follow from Maple's account, and maybe even boost you if you're someone new to Nostr. And if you just signed up today, even better, put your NPub in the comment section of this video.
I already followed him, copied and pasted and everything.
There you go. Fadima got the sats for us. There you go.
Nice. Awesome.
And yes, she did have inside information. She was she cheated us.
Yeah. Well, that's the way to make money in this world, is to be an insider. So makes sense.
Did you see any questions here? Oh, here's one. From my Apple ID 1677 said, if I keep my Bitcoin on a Trezor wallet at the bank, how do I borrow against it in 10 years? Do I need to transfer it back onto an exchange? You won't have to check. Well, I guess it depends on what the service is, but like if it's somebody like Ledden, or if it's a bank or any, strategy in the future, you would have to transfer it to them. You wouldn't send it to any sort of exchange. You'd be transferring it to them to either hold for you, or they hold a key to it. You hold a key to it. I think there's going to be a lot of variations of this in the future, but yeah, I mean, that's one thing I've kind of changed my mind on recently, and is banks, in the sense of, like, they are a pretty good place to keep your hardware device. I always like, I don't trust the banks. I don't want anything to do with that. But I actually think it's a really good place to keep your hardware device in a safety security box. Because if you kind of think through it, even if a bank employee went rogue, or the bank shut down, or the bank burned down, you obviously want to have your recovery phrase and hopefully a passphrase somewhere else too. But even if somebody found it, it's encrypted. It's encrypted. It requires a PIN code to access. And if you're using something like the Cold Card Q, it's got 2 secure elements in the back, where if somebody tries to bust into it and extract your private key, it just bricks itself. And I believe you get 13 attempts at a PIN before it bricks itself. So what do you think about Forrest? I kind of answered the question and asked another question there, but your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the device itself is in a location that requires some sort of trust. Like a bank security box is not a bad solution, because you are still protected by your PIN.
Yeah.
And something like I would make that PIN nice and long. Like, some have the ability to do 4 to 8 digits, right? Go with 8, because that's just going to create more
randomness.
difficulty. Yeah. So I would go with that. Sort of back to the question here. So the one thing here is if you do have backups, if you've taken self custody properly, you could import that wallet into a new device and not even have to go get the Trezor wallet if there's something blocking you do that from that, right? Because you have additional backups of your Bitcoin seed phrase. In 10 years, neither one of us can accurately predict what lending in fiat and Bitcoin is going to look like in 10 years. If fiat still exists, there will be way more lending practices and borrowing practices against it, because there will be a lot of institutions that can profit from that. And want a chance of getting your Bitcoin, of you defaulting on that loan somehow, of you making a mistake, of them getting custody of that Bitcoin. So there's going to be a massive incentive for them to create products like that. There might be more capability on Bitcoin. Right now, there's already discrete log contracts that have you owning a key and Oracle owning a key and the lender holding a key. Maybe that develops into something more secure and more able than a fully custodial over collateralized loan. It's really hard to predict all this stuff, but I would say you probably aren't going to have to send it back to an exchange. You'll send it. It'll go to into some sort of lending platform or whatever in 10 years. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It's pretty tough for us to know right now. Like at this rate, the world's won't even think about 5 years ago, man. Like before 2020, the world is just like a completely different place now, head to toe.
Yeah.
And it happened fast.
Yeah.
So sure did. Yeah, it's pretty wild. What do we still got 10 minutes here for us. Is there any other questions you saw in there that were worth getting at?
Oh, I'm sure there are, but I think we never even touched on basically what we wanted to here with the course. So I think we should talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. That's kind of both Forrest and I have spent quite a bit of time recently making videos, making content for people who want to learn how to protect their Bitcoin at the optimal level, right? And so that's why we titled the show today, Building a Rock Solid Foundation for Your Bitcoin. And we kind of alluded to it last week on the show a little bit, or maybe that was just in the live stream or the happy hour. But we were in the process of making a course for Maple Bitcoin. And it's going to be something along the lines of the Bitcoin guide that you never received, or the lost Bitcoin guide. Essentially, you get a cold card, you watch a YouTube video, you learn how to set it up and export the keys and send Bitcoin out of it. But there's hundreds of other things that they just kind of skip over. And I don't think it's intentional. I think that if you've ever made a YouTube video, you don't really want to have a 2-hour YouTube video for somebody to watch. It's like, oh, I can watch this in 15 minutes and have my cold card set up. Perfect. I'm going to go that route. But just because you have it set up doesn't mean that it's effective. Doesn't mean that you're not missing 100 or more things there. And so the course that we're kind of in the process of doing is kind of meant to fill those gaps. And right now there's a lot of talk around the price and kind of the macro things happening in Bitcoin, which, it's human nature. But from our opinion, people should be taking this time while the rest of the world figures out what's going on here in Bitcoin to really solidify your foundation. And we have the ability to do that before everybody else shows up. And I think that people should be taking this stuff a little bit more seriously. And so kind of one thing that we wanted to talk about is just give people like a really basic, what would you call it for us? Like a basic milestone that you could get to, or something that you could work towards that I think anybody in this chat could figure out on their own. But that's a really solid way to keep your Bitcoin. And you're going to find better ways to do it. You're probably going to want to get into a multi-sig once your Bitcoin gets to a certain value level. You probably want to get, geographically dispersed at some point in the future. But I think what we wanted to share today is just kind of something that people can look forward to and try to do on their own, essentially, without a huge investment of time or money. So it's the passphrase. You want to get into it a little bit for us, and I'll kind of chime in where necessary.
Yeah, sure. I just want to add in a little bit more about the course that we're doing, though, as well. I think you can watch some tutorials, you can understand Bitcoin economics or how addresses work and a few simple things, and you can get by, but the entire time you'll be struggling. You'll maybe be worrying about, oh, did I secure this properly? Or as soon as anything goes kind of wrong, you're really not going to know what's going on at that point if all you know is the basics, which the basics are great. And the basics are holding Bitcoin in self-custody. But if you don't understand about passphrases, if you don't understand about what is actually happening between when your seed phrase generates a private key and the public key pairing and address reuses. So there's all
UTXOs.
UTXO consolidation and management and all this. There's just all these little things that can go missed, and you're still okay. but you're not optimized. You're not stacking as hard as you can, and you're not protected as well as you can be. So, and these things are sometimes overlooked or just sort of minutia in the basic tutorials out there, so they don't get concentrated on and really looked at properly as they should be. So that's what this course is going to be, and basically after the course you'll have such an understanding of Bitcoin because you have the basics underneath you and these more advanced fill in the gap aspects, that you will feel confident with Bitcoin. And that is such a difference between just being able to use Bitcoin and feeling confident with Bitcoin. I think is a huge difference, actually, that is completely underrated and misunderstood. So that's kind of the idea there. We have a bunch of different lessons, each one going into one aspect that we think is very important and often overlooked, essentially. As far as a tangible aspect that you can take away from the show right now, passphrases are very important. So passphrases, we've talked about them before, maybe you've heard about them, but they're not a password. They're not the PIN that you put in to your device. They're not a password that you put on your companion app. They are a function of the BIP39 seed phrase security structure. So you generate the seed phrase from your hardware wallet, which is 12 or 24 words, and you add an additional, see the terminology
phrase. It's a phrase, right?
Yeah, phrase. Yeah, additional
because
phrase.
it's not a word and it's not a, you could have it as long as you want to there.
Yes, exactly. And some people will say, oh, it's the 13th or 25th word. That's not a good way to describe it either, because it really isn't. And password would be sort of maybe more of a way to understand it just as what it could be, because a password can also be anything.
Right. True.
But it is a passphrase keeps it connected to the seed phrase aspect of it. So yeah, passphrase, hopefully that's understandable to people. And what that does is it actually creates a brand new wallet, and therefore a brand new private, a master private key associated with the combination of the seed phrase, passphrase. And what that does is it creates a brand new master public key, which can create all of your Bitcoin addresses that you receive and send to, or send from. So this is functionally a completely separate wallet than your seed phrase wallet. The only thing that ties it to it is the fact that it was built from the combination of the seed phrase and additionally the passphrase. But there's nothing connecting it to it cryptographically or on the public blockchain at all. This looks like a completely separate wallet. So that can have privacy use cases. You could have inheritance use cases, and additionally, I say the number one use case is security use case.
Yeah.
So you generate a seed phrase from your wallet, you write that down, you stamp it on steel, you do everything that every influencer tells you just briefly to do, and you store that. Maybe you have multiple backups of it. You've done good, right? You think everything's good. Now the problem is with a seed phrase only wallet, if somebody finds one of those backups, they have your seed phrase, they have your private key. They can put that into a hardware wallet. They can put it into a software wallet. They can just recover your Bitcoin wallet if you have a seed phrase only wallet. So the major upgrade with the passphrase as far as security is that if they did that with your seed phrase, they're going to find an empty wallet or a decoy wallet. They need your passphrase as well. And your passphrase you can store separately. You could memorize it. You can store it digitally on something like Bitwarden. You can secure it on paper as well, and on steel as well. You could encrypt it. You could do all sorts of things, but you're keeping those two things separate. So now somebody has to bring both of those together to get access to your Bitcoin. So there's no single point of failure like there is with a seed phrase only wallet. You have anything to add there?
I just think that this is the best way for people to kind of really what you want to do with this. I would say there's two kind of things that you want to keep in mind here. Number one is, as Plastic said in the chat here, keep it simple, stupid. I like keep it stupid simple, but it's the same kind of idea here. So you do want to keep it simple. And that's why we're actually making this recommendation, is because it's not too difficult. It's just that you kind of have to be aware of what can go wrong with it and the importance of it. So the main thing here is that you're kind of separating you're removing your single point of failure. Because if you had, I think the traditional way that people hold their Bitcoin is that they have their hardware device at their house and they also have their recovery phrase at their house. And a lot of people think that they're safe because they might have their recovery phrase on steel, which could be true, but it also could be false. And if somebody finds those 12 words on that steel plate, they essentially have your Bitcoin now. And so why I love this passphrase and kind of our recommendation here for like the optimal, simple strategy for Bitcoiners is that you keep your private key, which is your hardware device, like your cold card. You can keep that at your house. And then you can take your 12 words that it generates and you can leave that somewhere else. But you don't have to worry too much about it because, as Forrest said there, even if somebody finds that, they're still only seeing the empty wallet there because it's a completely different wallet with this passphrase. So then the third location, you would have your passphrase there. And you never want to keep these two in the same location because that kind of defeats the whole purpose of the passphrase. But this essentially makes you very robust in the sense that there's not one thing that could happen where your security is compromised. Like if you had a fire at your house, just to run through things here, the only thing that you would have at your house is this cold card. And therefore you could go into the second location, you could get your 12 words, go to the third location, get your passphrase, and you would be able to import those words into a brand new cold card and have access to your Bitcoin with that. So this is kind of the value that Forrest and I wanted to give to everybody here, because both of us really love this solution for people who are, I would say, mid-range Bitcoiners. Like, you don't want to do this if you're just getting into Bitcoin because it is pretty complex, but it's also not the best form of security that you can have. It's just kind of like in between. It's a good place for people, I think, to kind of go from.
Yeah, it's a great place to step up from if you're in a seed phrase only wallet.
Right.
This is a really, really simple move that I think is so much better. And then it's a multi-sig is better than this, but not. I mean, it is much better, but it isn't as much of a leap, in my opinion, between the seed phrase only and the passphrase. So it's a simple addition. But you did mention something really good there. You don't recommend it to somebody who's just starting out. Complexity is also a vulnerability.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what you're doing, if you're somebody that, and you know this about yourself, that struggles to remember things, struggles to keep track of things, struggles with organization, all of that, complexity could be your worst nightmare for security. So that's definitely a vulnerability that's overlooked, as well. As most people are just here, oh, multi-sig's the best, I got to do multi-sig. Then they don't realize how complex that could be.
Right.
So this is an in-between in complexity. This is an in-between in security, and it's much better than seed phrase only, in our opinion.
That's right. And whoa, we got a nice little zap here. Who's this from? 5,562 units of freedom. And from the Bitcoin Nurse, back-to-back weeks, Bitcoin Nurse. Thank you, man.
Nice.
Appreciate that. And the last thing that I wanted to say here before Forrest and I hit the road to our happy hour, we haven't promoted our school at all, but if you want to join us there, you know where to find us, school.com/Maple Bitcoin. We do a live follow-up, kind of an after party every week right after the live stream. And it's actually some of our best conversations, I think. If you got some time on your hands and you want to watch some videos and learn a lot about Bitcoin, go through those the last 20 happy hours that we've done. You're gonna have a much better look at Bitcoin. But kind of what we're talking about here in the course is just we're going to be talking about, I'll just kind of walk through it so people, again, if you join the school, you're going to get access to this as a member in there. And that's kind of why we wanted to mention it today, because once we post this course in the school community, the price is going to go up probably $20 or $30 per month, which is going to be doubling it because there's just so much value in this for people. And it's definitely more than worth that. So the course is going to be for sale. You can buy a one-time purchase price or you can join. But we're going to talk about like what to look for when you're buying. If you haven't bought one yet, that's going to be the first episode. We're going to talk about your threat model, your personal threat model, and looking at all the things that could go wrong in your Bitcoin setup. We're going to look at passphrase, seeds, keys, the differences, XPubs, where you should store them, UTXOs versus addresses, doing the dice rolls, why you should do that, 12 or 20 forwards, which one makes sense. How do you know if your seed phrase is secure or not? How to check that. Recording and storing these information, like locations, how you should be thinking about this. And then, of course, passphrases, pins, and just a ton of stuff. How to use Sparrow properly, all the different features within Sparrow. So I would say it's UTXO management, non-KYC stuff, diversifying wallets. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with some inheritance and kind of annual maintenance you want to do with your cold card. So I would say who this is for. It's somebody who's just kind of either thinking about getting a cold card, they're at that stage now, or they just bought one and they've kind of watched the tutorials, they set it up, they generated the keys, they've watched a couple BTC sessions videos, but they're just not really sure what they're doing. They don't know if it's secure, they don't know if they did, made a mistake, and how to kind of be handling this stuff. So that's what it's going to be, a 10-part series. And it's going to be perfect for anybody out there just to mostly sleep better at night and give yourself as Forrest said, more confidence with your setup.
Yeah. And again, that will be available on our school community, and you want to front run the school membership, because as soon as that goes live, we're going to reflect the price of the membership for the school community with the value add that we're creating by uploading a full course to it. So front run it. Get in there, and get in there today, and you can join in the live for another hour there. You can turn your camera on, you can turn your mic on if you feel like it. You can ask us questions directly in a more intimate setting, and we'll see you there. For everybody, there's a few of you in the chat that are members, so we'll definitely see you guys, and hope to see some new members sign up as well.
Yeah, we'll probably carry this conversation forward here. I see Camille's got some questions about what did I see
Decoy.
there? The decoy, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the passphrase a little bit more. We'll talk about the decoy wallet and just kind of help people get a good understanding to see if it makes sense for them or not. And like we kind of alluded to there, you're going to be able to purchase this kind of a one-time purchase price, but it's going to be in the hundreds of dollars. So you join the school, as Forrest said, you front run it, and then that's kind of like your locked in price forever. Even if the price doubled, tripled, quadrupled, you're still in at that price that you signed up at. So if the course is done, you get through it, you want to cancel, that's up to you. It's going to be the cheapest way to do it, but I think it's going to be, you got the support of the community there, and Forrest and I, and of course our guy out on the lake, freezing his butt off, Rajat.
Awesome.
So that's it. Thanks, Forrest. Great show today. Hopefully people got a ton of value from this one. Hopefully we'll get some new people on Nostr. And if you're watching this and you have Nostr, or you just signed up for Nostr, put your NPub in the comments here, and we'll be sure to follow you. So thanks, Forrest. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back here this time next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.